Let me ask you this. When was the last time your adult child truly listened to what you had to say? Not just nodded politely or sent a quick okay text, but actually heard you. If it's been a while, you're not alone. Many seniors feel like they've become invisible to their own families. But here's the hard truth. Being ignored isn't just about them. It's often about how we approach the relationship. What if I told you that small changes in how you communicate could completely transform how your kids treat you? Stay with me because in this video, we're diving deep into why this happens, and more importantly, what you can do to fix it. By the end, you'll have actionable steps to rebuild respect and connection with your children. And before we go further, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt ignored by your kids? Drop a comment below, just one word or a sentence, and let us know you're here. Your stories matter, and they might inspire others facing the same struggles. If you're ready for real solutions, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss videos designed to empower seniors like you. Let's get started. Today on the show, we're diving into the world of economic indicators. These are the numbers that tell us how the economy is doing. Things like GDP, unemployment rates, and consumer confidence. But what do these indicators really mean? How are they calculated? And how should we interpret them? We'll break it all down for you with the help of some experts to make sense of the numbers that shape our world. Number 1. The pain of being ignored. Why it hurts more than you think. If you're a senior feeling ignored by your adult children, you're not alone. Many parents over 60 experience this heart-wrenching reality, but understanding why it happens is the first step to fixing it. Let me share a story about Margaret, an 82-year-old woman I met last year. Margaret loved her family deeply, but she often felt like they had moved on without her. Her son stopped calling as much, her daughter rarely visited, and her grandchildren were too busy with their own lives to include her. At first, Margaret brushed it off, telling herself they were just busy, but deep down it hurt more than she let on. She began to question if she had done something wrong, or if she was simply no longer important to them. This feeling of being forgotten isn't just about loneliness. It cuts deeper because it makes you question your value in the lives of those you love most. But here's the hard truth. Being ignored isn't always about them. It's often tied to how we approach relationships as we age. For example, many seniors unintentionally push their kids away by offering unsolicited advice, criticizing their choices, or clinging too tightly out of fear of losing connection. These behaviors, though well-meaning, can create distance instead of closeness. The good news? Small changes in how you communicate can make a big difference. Start by asking yourself, are you truly listening to your children, or are you focused on what you want to say? Do you validate their feelings, or do you dismiss them when they don't align with yours? Building respect starts with mutual understanding, and that means meeting them where they are, not where you expect them to be. If you've ever felt ignored by your kids, leave a comment below sharing one thing you wish they understood about you. Your stories could inspire others facing similar struggles. And if you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Years Wisdom and hit the bell icon so you never miss future videos designed to empower seniors like you. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore how shifting your mindset can transform how your kids see you and how you see yourself. Number 2, the power of boundaries. Why setting limits can save your relationship. If you're a senior feeling ignored by your adult children, one of the most important things you can do is set healthy boundaries and stick to them. Many parents over 60 struggle with this because they fear it might push their kids further away. But the truth is, unclear or non-existent boundaries often create more distance than they prevent. Let me share a story about Robert, a 78-year-old man I met last year. Robert loved his family deeply, but he constantly felt disrespected by his son, who would call him only when he needed something, whether it was money, advice on fixing his car, or help moving furniture. At first, Robert didn't say anything. He wanted to be helpful and didn't want to risk upsetting his son, but over time he began to feel used and unappreciated. He realized that by not setting limits, he was allowing his son to take advantage of their relationship. So one day, Robert decided to make a change. When his son called asking for yet another favor, Robert calmly explained that while he was happy to help occasionally, he couldn't keep being treated like a personal assistant. To his surprise, his son apologized and admitted he hadn't realized how his behavior was affecting his dad. This small act of setting a boundary transformed their dynamic. It taught Robert's son to value him as a person, not just as a resource. The lesson here is simple. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about teaching others how to treat you with respect. For many seniors, this can be hard to implement because it requires saying no even when it feels uncomfortable. But remember, every time you set a boundary, you're reinforcing your worth and showing your children that you deserve to be treated fairly. Start small. Next time your child asks for something unreasonable, pause and ask yourself, is this request respectful? Does it align with what I need right now? If the answer is no, kindly but firmly let them know where you stand. Another key aspect of setting boundaries is consistency. If you say no once but give in later, your children will learn that they can wear you down, which undermines your efforts. Instead, make it clear that your boundaries are non-negotiable, not out of stubbornness, but out of self-respect. If you've ever struggled with setting boundaries with your adult children, leave a comment below sharing what made it difficult for you. Your experiences could inspire others facing similar challenges. And if you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Years Wisdom and hit the bell icon so you never miss future videos designed to empower seniors like you. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore how shifting your mindset can transform how your kids see you and how you see yourself. Number 3, the power of listening, how truly hearing your kids can transform relationships. If you're a senior feeling ignored by your adult children, one of the most impactful changes you can make is to focus on listening, truly listening to them. Many parents over 60 fall into the trap of thinking they need to offer advice or solutions every time their kids open up, but often what your children really want is for you to hear them without judgment. Let me share a story about Helen, a 76-year-old woman I spoke with last year. Helen had always been a problem solver, especially when her kids were younger. She prided herself on giving them guidance and helping them navigate life's challenges. But as they grew older, she noticed something troubling. They stopped calling her altogether. At first, she thought it was just because they were busy, but when she finally sat down with her daughter for an honest conversation, she got an answer. That surprised her. Her daughter said, "Mom, every time I try to talk to you, you don't listen. You just tell me what to do." That moment was a wake-up call for Helen. She realized that instead of nurturing connection, her constant advice-giving had created distance. Here's the reality. Listening isn't passive, it's an active choice to be present and engaged in what someone else is saying. For many seniors, this shift can feel challenging because it requires letting go of control and resisting the urge to fix things. But when you truly listen, you show your kids that their thoughts, feelings, and experiences matter to you. It builds trust and opens the door for deeper, more meaningful conversations. Think about it. If you've ever felt dismissed or interrupted while trying to express yourself, how did it make you feel? Frustrated, unimportant, maybe even angry? That's exactly how your kids might feel if they sense you're not fully hearing them. The good news is that becoming a better listener doesn't require grand gestures. It starts with small, intentional actions. For example, next time your child shares something, resist the urge to jump in with advice right away. Instead, ask follow-up questions like, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What do you think would help?" These kinds of responses validate their emotions and show that you care about understanding their perspective. Another powerful technique is reflective listening, rephrasing what they've said to confirm you understand. For instance, if your son talks about struggling at work, you could say, "It sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed by all these new responsibilities. Is that right?" This simple act not only shows empathy, but also encourages them to keep talking. Helen put these strategies into practice, and within weeks she noticed a difference. Her daughter started calling more often, sharing updates about her job, relationships, and even personal struggles. Helen admitted to me later, "I didn't realize how much my need to fix everything was pushing her away. Now that I'm listening, I feel closer to her than I have in years." If you've ever struggled with communication in your family, Leave a comment below sharing one thing you'll try differently the next time you talk to your kids. Your stories could inspire others facing similar challenges. And if you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Years Wisdom and hit the bell icon so you never miss future videos designed to empower seniors like you. Stay tuned for part 4, where we'll explore how leading by example can rebuild respect and strengthen your bond with your children. Number 4. Leading by example. How your actions can rebuild respect. If you're a senior feeling ignored by your adult children, one of the most powerful ways to regain their respect is by leading through example. Many parents fall into the trap of expecting respect without realizing that respect is often earned through actions, not just age or authority. Let me share a story about Robert, an 85-year-old man I met last year. Robert had always been vocal about his frustrations with his son, who rarely visited and seemed indifferent to his father's needs. Robert would often say things like, "He doesn't care about me anymore." But when I asked him how he treated his son during their interactions, he hesitated. Over time, it became clear that Robert had fallen into a pattern of criticizing his son's choices, whether it was his parenting style, his job, or even how he dressed. While Robert felt he was offering guidance, his son perceived it as constant judgment. This dynamic created a wall between them, leaving both sides feeling hurt and disconnected. The turning point came when Robert decided to change his approach. Instead of focusing on what his son was doing wrong, he started modeling the behavior he wanted to see. He began expressing gratitude more often, thanking his son for small gestures like calling or helping with groceries. He stopped offering unsolicited advice and instead listened without interrupting, even when he disagreed. Slowly but surely, these changes had a ripple effect. His son noticed the shift in tone and attitude and responded in kind. He started visiting more often, opening up about his own struggles, and even asking for his dad's opinion on important decisions. What Robert learned was simple, yet profound. When you lead with kindness, patience, and understanding, you set the standard for how others treat you in return. This principle applies to all relationships, but it's especially important in family dynamics. If you want your children to respect you, show them what respect looks like, not just in words but in actions. For instance, if you value honesty, be honest with them about your feelings without resorting to guilt trips or blame. If you want them to include you in their lives, find ways to include them in yours, whether it's sharing stories from your past or inviting them to participate in activities you enjoy. By being intentional with your actions, you create a positive cycle where mutual respect can flourish. Of course, leading by example isn't always easy. It requires self-awareness and a willingness to reflect on your own behavior. But the payoff is worth it. When you take responsibility for your role in the relationship, you not only rebuild trust, but also inspire your children to rise to the occasion. If you've ever struggled with being the bigger person in your family dynamic, leave a comment below sharing what challenges you faced and how you overcame them. Your experiences could encourage others to take the first step toward healing. Number 5. The power of self-reflection. How changing yourself can transform your relationship. If you're a senior feeling ignored by your adult children, one of the most transformative steps you can take is to turn the lens inward and reflect on your own actions and attitudes. It's easy to focus on what your kids are doing wrong, but real change often starts with examining how you might be contributing to the dynamic. Let me share a story about Helen, a 79-year-old woman I met last year. Helen had always been outspoken, especially when it came to her opinions about her daughter's life choices. She would often criticize her daughter's parenting style, her job decisions, and even how she dressed. At first, Helen believed she was just being honest and trying to help. But over time, she noticed her daughter pulling away. Calls became shorter, visits less frequent, and conversations more strained. One day, Helen's granddaughter said something that stopped her in her tracks. "Grandma, Mom feels like she can't talk to you because you always judge her." That moment forced Helen to confront a painful truth. Her well-intentioned advice wasn't helping, it was hurting. Self-reflection isn't about blaming yourself or taking all the responsibility for a strained relationship. It's about recognizing patterns and behaviors that might be pushing your children away. For many seniors, this process can feel uncomfortable because it requires humility and vulnerability. But here's the reality. When you're willing to look at your own role in the relationship, you open the door to healing and growth. Helen decided to make a change. Instead of focusing on what her daughter was doing wrong, she started asking herself tough questions. Am I truly listening to her, or am I just waiting for my turn to speak? Am I respecting her choices, even if I don't agree with them? Am I giving her the same grace and understanding that I expect from her? These questions led her to realize that her criticism, though well-meaning, had created a barrier between them. Helen began making small but meaningful changes. She stopped offering unsolicited advice and instead focused on being supportive. When her daughter shared news about her job or parenting struggles, Helen responded with empathy rather than judgment. She also made an effort to apologize for past mistakes, telling her daughter, "I realize now that some of the things I said were hurtful and I'm sorry. I want to do better." That simple act of accountability strengthened their bond in ways Helen never expected. Her daughter started opening up more, sharing parts of her life she had previously kept hidden, and their conversations became deeper and more meaningful. The lesson here is clear. When you take responsibility for your part in a strained relationship, you empower yourself to create positive change. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware and intentional. Start by reflecting on your interactions with your children. Are you quick to criticize or slow to praise? Do you prioritize being right over being kind? These small shifts in mindset can have a profound impact on how your kids perceive and respond to you. If you've ever struggled with self-reflection in your relationships, leave a comment below sharing what you learned about yourself and how it changed your approach. Your experiences could inspire others to take the first step toward healing. Number 6. The power of forgiveness. How letting go can heal your relationship. If you're a senior feeling ignored by your adult children, one of the most transformative steps you can take is to practice forgiveness, not just for them, but for yourself. Holding on to resentment, disappointment, or past hurts only creates a barrier between you and the people you love most. Let me share a story about Margaret, an 87-year-old woman I met last year. Margaret had always been close to her son, but over time their relationship grew strained. She felt he didn't visit enough, didn't call often, and didn't appreciate all she had done for him as a parent. On the other hand, her son felt criticized and unappreciated every time they spoke. Over the years, their conversations became shorter, colder, and less frequent. Margaret admitted to me that she carried a lot of anger toward him, believing he had turned his back on her. But deep down she missed him terribly and wanted to reconnect. The turning point came when Margaret realized that holding on to her resentment wasn't hurting her son, it was hurting her. She decided to take the first step toward healing by letting go of the grudges she'd been carrying for years. It wasn't easy. Forgiveness never is. But Margaret started small. She stopped replaying old arguments in her mind, stopped blaming him for how she felt, and instead focused on understanding his perspective. She even wrote him a letter, a simple note that said, "I'm sorry if I've ever made you feel unappreciated. I love you and want to understand how we can move forward together." To her surprise, her son called her the next day. He thanked her for reaching out and admitted that he too had been holding on to guilt and frustration about their past interactions. That single act of forgiveness opened the door to healing. They began talking more openly, sharing their feelings without judgment, and slowly rebuilding the bond they once had. Margaret told me later, "I didn't realize how much my bitterness was keeping us apart. Once I let it go, I felt lighter, and so did our relationship." Forgiveness isn't about excusing hurtful behavior or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about releasing the emotional weight that keeps you stuck in the past. When you forgive, you give yourself permission to move forward, to focus on what you can control, and to create space for healthier interactions with your children. For many seniors, this can be especially difficult because unresolved issues often feel magnified with age. But the truth is, Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself as much as it is for others. If you're struggling with forgiveness in your relationship with your adult children, start by reflecting on your own emotions. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to? How is this affecting my peace of mind? Am I willing to let it go for the sake of connection? Sometimes, simply acknowledging your pain and choosing to release it can be the first step toward healing. If you've ever struggled with forgiveness, leave a comment below sharing how you worked through it or what challenges you're still facing. Your experiences could inspire others to take the courageous step toward letting go. As we wrap up this video, I want to leave you with one final thought. Rebuilding a relationship with your adult children isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about taking small, intentional steps every day to show them that you value who they are, respect their choices, and are willing to meet them halfway. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when you're consistent. Start by listening more, offering less unsolicited advice, setting healthy boundaries, and leading with empathy. These actions might feel small in the moment, but over time, they can transform your relationship in ways you never imagined. And here's the most important part: don't give up. Even if things don't improve right away, keep showing up. Keep being the kind of parent you'd want to have, patient, understanding, and loving. Your efforts matter, even if you don't see the results immediately. If any part of this video resonated with you, if it gave you hope, clarity, or even a new perspective, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you're going to try first or what challenges you've faced in connecting with your kids. Your stories could inspire someone else who feels like they're running out of options. Thank you for joining me today. Together, let's redefine aging not as a time of loss, but as a season of growth, connection, and wisdom. If you found this video helpful, please take a moment to hit that thumbs up button. It lets us know we're on the right track and helps others discover this content too. And if you haven't already subscribed, consider joining our community here at Golden Years Wisdom. Every week we tackle topics designed to empower seniors like you, whether it's improving relationships, staying healthy, or thriving in your golden years. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. We're here to support you through every step of this journey, and your engagement, your likes, comments, and shares keeps this channel alive and growing. Lastly, if there's a topic you'd love us to cover in future videos, drop it in the comments. We read every single one, and your feedback shapes what we create next. Thank you for being part of this community. Until next time, take care of yourself, cherish the moments, and remember, you deserve to live your best life, no matter your age.